Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Betting Show on the Grizzly True Sports Network. We are at week 14 in the NFL season. And as always, if you're going to bet on the NFL, make sure you go to BetMGM. Click on link in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. Go bet at BetMGM. It's the best sports book out there. Follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. As always, I am Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome to the show, as always, our co-host. First up, we'll go with last week's winner, who now leads me by 2, and he leads Steve by 7.
A mile.
Dan Kornhauser. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing all right. We're going into the final third of the season. I got a 2-game lead, and unlike you, I won't be relinquishing it.
Oh, whatever. You relinquished it last year. And then I got desperate and screwed it up. So it happens. All right. And, of course, as always, we have 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great. Thanks for having me today. Sorry I'm 7 games out, but
you usually are, though, so it's really not that big a deal.
I got some tricks up my sleeve.
Why didn't you use them in past years?
Nice.
I didn't have the tricks.
All right. So it seems like almost every team has a backup quarterback now. So everybody's playing by the same rules. When we look at this past week, I mean, what is the biggest surprise that stuck out to you, Dan?
The biggest surprise for me was Cincinnati beating Jacksonville. Not because Jacksonville is some amazing team, but because Browning looked great. The offense looked amazing. Joe Mixon looked better than he has in the last year and a half. Chase went off. Everything looked good. It was amazing. And on the flip side for Jacksonville, I mean, they should have run away with this AFC South. They can't. They haven't. For a multitude of reasons, and now Trevor Lawrence has, I think, a high ankle sprain, and the line went from, I think it was like -1 before to for Cleveland to, I think it's like now like 3 or 3.5 now.
What the hell is Cleveland going to be playing with Joe Flacco?
Yes.
Yeah,
You got Joe Flacco. Yeah, I mean, you got backup quarterbacks, and really, Jacksonville's quarterback looked good when he came in the game the other night. He did drive him down. He drove him down. He tied the game.
Yep.
You know, I mean, he wasn't terrible. So, Steve, what was your big takeaway from this last week?
Well, aside from what I think Cincinnati looked like a playoff team again. I mean, they look like a team that if they weren't in such a hole, would be, I think, a lock for the playoffs. At this point, I think they've got a damn good shot. You know, they got one more loss in them, and that's coming up this Sunday.
Yeah.
But then after that, I can see the Bengals winning out.
Well, the thing is, right now, the only game they have left.
That wasn't my.
Oh, well, then freaking get to it. You don't have to kiss Dan's ass and agree with him.
To me, the thing that got my attention the most is the absolute resurgence of Miami. Miami kind of went, they started the season off incredibly hot, scoring points at will, putting 70 points on the board. Then they got into this little lull kind of where they kind of became.
Yeah, they played good teams. That seems to be their
they
lull
played
time.
good teams, but now all of a sudden they have had a resurgence now to where I think, and you guys are the genius here, but they may be the best team in the AFC right now. And so to me, the most eye-opening thing, I think the Bengals is the biggest surprise, how well they played. The most eye-opening thing is the way that Miami's resurging right now.
Well, I don't think they're resurging. They just beat bad teams and they lose the good ones. But the thing we will find out soon is this. They do get the Titans and the Dolphins. So after the Titans-Dolphins, though, they host Dallas, they go to Baltimore, and then they host Buffalo. Miami.
How does Miami host the Dolphins?
You know what I mean. They host the Titans, then they host the Jets. But you know what? At least I know Josh Allen is a defensive end for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's a thing.
That is a thing. Yeah. because it looks like somebody doing an NFL show would know there was 2 Josh Allens. But this is absolutely ridiculous because Robert says Tua is the best quarterback. Compared to who? In the NFL?
In the AFC?
I have never seen Tua even play in a playoff game. And if he's the best in the AFC, Miami's toughest schedule left, they've played nobody so far, and the teams they played that were good have lost, Robert. I mean, they've
toughest schedule left.
They probably don't. But
you were just alluding to that they had a tough schedule.
No, what I'm saying is this is not extremely tough because you get the Titans and you get the Jets the next 2 games. All right.
Some drugs today.
Then you play the Cowboys, you play the Ravens, and then you got to play the Bills, but that's at home, and Buffalo may be completely out of it unless they do something quick. And the other thing is this, yes, the Dolphins are dangerous when they play really bad teams, but I've seen nothing to tell me they can do this against good competition. Now, I think they can personally, but I haven't seen it yet, Dan.
Yeah, and that's one of the big concerns for a lot of these teams. It's not just the Miami Dolphins. I feel like that's the thing that we can say about a few of these teams at the very top of the NFL right now. And the other thing is Tua's health. He's been healthy for the most part this season. When he's in, they win. But depending on him to stay healthy for the next month and a half of the regular season and make it through the playoffs, we'll see. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. I know Lamar Jackson gets this.
Dan, that's with any player in the NFL. Come on.
Yeah, but quarterback is a little bit more important.
But these guys.
Browning could go down this game. Yeah,
but when you lose your quarterback, you're usually in deep crap. It's not like losing anybody else. All right, let's start off with Thursday Night Football. We have a classic matchup between the New England Patriots, who can't score, and they'll play the Pittsburgh Steelers, who can't get – well, let's do this. The Pittsburgh Steelers with Mitch Trubisky can't score. The New England Patriots are going to Pittsburgh. They can't get a first down. The over-under on this game is 30. What do you think, Dan? -6, Pittsburgh.
I say take the under, and I'm going to go with New England in this game. Not because I think New England's going to win. They might not even put up any points. But their defense has been one of the best in the league over the last month. They're holding teams to just about 2 touchdowns per game defensively, which is great. The only problem is that they're averaging like 8 or 9 points.
Well, I'll give them a pass the last game because even Justin Herbert couldn't throw the ball. The weather conditions were horrible. But
if
I'm judging this off of before that.
If you can't move the ball against a horrendous Chargers defense that just gives up yardage in chunks, I mean, I don't know what we're doing, and it doesn't matter who's at quarterback at this point. Put the Cunningham kid in. See if he can be a backup quarterback.
You got to let Bailey Zappi have a chance.
Give Bailey another game or 2, and then if he does this again, put the Cunningham kid in. Season's over. They're gonna have a top 3 pick. They should take one of these quarterbacks at the top. It'll just be a matter of is Bill coming back or is Bill fucking out.
All right, I'm going to take New England just because of the same thing. The -6 to me is too big of a line because I don't know if the winning team will even score 6 points here. I'm going to go with the Patriots, and I also think this. I think Mitchell Trubisky is one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen be a starter in the NFL.
So bad.
So we'll see what happens here, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots shut him down and win the game like 6-3 or 9-6. It would not surprise me. Steve?
I got to go against you guys here. 6 points, I don't think that's not even a touchdown. And I can see this game being won 7-0 or 10-3.
Okay, I have a question for you, Steve.
Okay.
How many points is a touchdown worth?
6 plus the extra point.
Assuming they make it.
But if they don't, 6 points is a touchdown. Go ahead.
Well, that's like assuming that New England's plane doesn't crash on the way to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but actually,
and then the game's canceled.
Every week, there's a guy that misses an extra point.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not going to catch you guys picking the same picks you guys do.
You're not
You're not going to catch us losing either.
Because both these teams are pretty bad. I think these are the two best coaches in the NFL. I don't think that the Steelers are going to play the way they played last week, 2 weeks in a row. They're at home again. The weather is going to be crappy, but that's going to be equal for both teams. Because
wait a second. Robert says, who else is a better quarterback in the AFC? Patrick Mahomes, C.J. Stroud. Just playing. I assume we're not. If we're counting guys that are injured,
given my dissertation, and you go off on some.
I got bored, and somebody asked me a question. I mean, come on, there's a pecking order. You've already picked your game.
Pick this game.
You've already picked it.
Okay, move on.
Well, you did pick it. You said you're taking Pittsburgh.
Go, Mike. It's your show.
What? All I know is this: when you asked me, the only thing I said was, "I will take the Patriots into points because nobody can score." Fair. I'll demonstrate this again. We've got Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Atlanta is favored by 2.5, and then Atlanta can actually put some distance here, win the AFC South. I'm going to go with the Falcons. Steve, see how I did that?
I'm going to go with the Buccaneers.
So Atlanta minus 2.5.
Yeah, that's a tough pick because you never know what you're going to get with either team or quarterback.
So Steve's going Tampa. You're going Atlanta?
Yeah.
I hate this line. I hate everything about it because you don't know which teams you're going to get. Are you going to get the Tampa Bay Bucks team whose defense is atrocious, who Baker Mayfield can't move the ball, or are you going to get the Baker Mayfield who throws it to Mike Evans and he scored, Evans scores a couple of touchdowns and gets 120 yards.
Hey, how about this? Just flip a coin and let's make a damn pick, all right?
Fine. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. Mostly because I don't trust Ritter. I will always pick against Ritter if I can.
I don't trust Tampa Bay's coach. All right, next up, the Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. To me, this line is 3.5. I may go bet my house on it. I'm going to take the Lions and give it a 3.5, Dan. You got to take the Bears. I mean, Justin Fields is about to take off.
Nah, I'm not buying it. I'm going to take Detroit. It could be an ugly game, but I'm going to take Detroit.
No, it will be an ugly game. Steve?
I'm going with the Lions. This is a soft spread on this game, I tell you what.
Well, the Lions like to play this game where, they don't know who they want to be. Do they want to be one of the NFL's elite teams?
That's crap. What's their record right now, Dan? Dan, what's their record?
9-3.
Okay, shut up. They're 9-3.
Yeah, but their defense is average.
Oh, shit. Whose is it? How many teams have a great defense nowadays?
I mean, an all-timer defense?
No, I'm just talking about a really good defense. There's like 5 of them.
Yeah, and the messed up part is one of them, Cleveland. Number 1 in total defense, number 1 against the pass.
All I can tell you is this.
They're 9 weeks, they've been one of the worst.
They're 9-3. They're one of the best teams. They're probably they're one of the top 4 teams in the NFC. They haven't won anything since like 1957 or 58. You're still bitching. Stop it. Stop it. Steve, did you already pick this game?
Yeah, we all went Detroit.
I'm scared to death of Mike. Yeah, I'm taking the Lions. Mike, is that okay?
Yes. Next up,
okay,
Steve.
Mike, may I have another?
Steve, we'll let you start off. Indianapolis Colts favored by 2.5 at the Jungle in Cincinnati.
Tell you what, this game, I studied this game, looked at it. EJ Speed is out.
Who?
EJ Speed.
Linebacker?
What?
Gotcha.
Linebacker?
Yeah, he's out. And I just got a flash from the Colts that he's out. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Taylor was on the DMP. He did not practice all week. He's had surgery last Wednesday. Probably not going to play. Although I don't think that's a weakness for the Colts.
Because I think it's a severe weakness because then you only got 1 instead of 2 running backs.
Well, I know, but Zach Moss, when he was running alone early in the season, he was rushing for over 100 yards a game. I think that the run defense of the Bengals is the Bengals' Achilles right now. Other than that they're strong everywhere else. This game to me comes down to a game of quarterback production. Jake Browning had an outstanding game coming in for Joe Burrow. Minshew is hit or miss. Minshew's coming off a 300-plus yard passing game. He's got the deep ball.
It was against the Titans.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but it's still there weren't many quarterbacks that threw for 300 yards in the NFL.
Jake Browning threw for 354 against the Jaguars.
All right, okay. God damn.
Don't use the Lord's name in vain. You don't have to go to hell just because you're frustrated by my intellect and wit.
You just shut up and let me finish, and then
I didn't say anything. You're the one who said it. You said a bad word.
Shut up, Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
I can shut you both up. Just do the rest of the show by myself. I'll have Robert call in.
Well, take your ball and leave.
Who you got, Steve?
I'm the one that on this. This is I think it comes down to the quarterback play. Truthfully, I think if Browning has another game, Bengals are a bitch right now. I think the Colts have to run strong, and Minshew's got to not throw a lot of picks. He didn't throw any picks last week. 1 point spread. I'm going to
2.5 is what it says on this.
Oh, you got 2.5. I got 1 on my.
I've also seen 1.5 and 2. It's according to what site you go to.
Yeah, I'm on Sporting News' site, which. But anyway, so what's the official spread we're going to use?
2.5 is what was on there when I put it up at like.
It's less than a field goal. I'm going to take the Colts in this one.
All right, you like how I picked the larger to spread since I'm going to pick the Bengals. I think this. I think when you look at these teams, the Colts will not be able to stop the Bengals if they run the ball. I mean, the Bengals' issue is coaching, and a coach that doesn't value tight ends or running backs. And we saw the Bengals against Pittsburgh only run the ball 8 times and lose a game they should have won. Last week, it was a little different. We saw Chase Brown, too, the 4th-round pick out of Illinois, who played really well, had 2 big runs. Joe Mixon had well over 100 yards. The other thing to remember is this. It's not just about quarterback play. It's also who the quarterback is throwing to. You got Jamar Chase. You got T. Higgins. And you got Boyd. You've got Hudson at tight end. You got Joe Mixon coming out of the backfield. You got Chase Brown coming out of the backfield. I think that last week may have been a fluke with Jake Browning. We don't know. I thought the week before he played good against Pittsburgh. The offensive line was horrible. The play calling was horrible. So it's my same caveat of Joe Burrow's playing. It's just according if Zach Taylor can screw it up enough to even out the talent. I'm going to take the Bengals, Dan.
You kind of cut me off at the knees there because I'm kind of leaning Cincinnati as well.
So how'd I cut you off at the knees?
Well, because I thought I was gonna be slick and take Cincinnati, and you took Indianapolis here.
No, I pick against Cincinnati when I believe they're going to lose. They're not.
The thing for me is with Indianapolis is this team is, I mean, when you look at them, at least statistically, they're average across the board. Minshew does not inspire any confidence. They're winning a lot of close games against bad teams. New England 10-6, Tampa 27-20, Tennessee 31-28, and they probably should have lost that Tennessee game, but they pulled it out at the end. Kudos to them. I guess that's what good teams do. They beat bad teams.
Hey, Dan.
They beat them convincingly, though.
3 teams are tied for the longest winning streak in the NFL right now. You know who they are?
Colts are one of them.
Colts are one of them.
Yep. I'm going
Cowboys and the 49ers are the other 2.
So, yeah. But on the flip side, they're winning games, but it's ugly. Their offense is average. Their defense is below average, damn near across the board, especially in the last month and a half of the season. I'm going to take Cincinnati as well. I think this is one of those ugly kind of games that it wouldn't surprise me if Indy blows Cincy out and Browning becomes a pumpkin, but I'll take Cincy. And Steve, you took Indy?
I took Indy.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Homer. If my Colts, they're not even the last team in the playoffs now.
Oh, God, be quiet. Nobody cares about the Colts. Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are, is that right? Did I put that in backwards? Are the Jaguars favored?
No, the Browns are favored.
No. Cleveland is favored by 3.5, damn near everywhere.
All right, I got it asked backwards, Dad. I apologize, Dan. Now make your damn pick.
I'm gonna take Cleveland here, and this is under the assumption that Trevor Lawrence doesn't play.
He's not playing.
So if he's not playing, I know Christian Kirk left last week's game with an injury as well, real early in the game. I think like on his first catch or something like that, he got injured. So if they're missing those two guys, Lawrence is, I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Use a quarterback, you're going to struggle. But Christian Kirk has been their top receiver this year. He's been one of the better underneath guys in the league the last couple of years, surprisingly enough. And while Cleveland, like I said, Cleveland's defense has been really ass the last.
Hey, just so you know, Robert picked the Browns.
Cleveland's been really ass the last month. Their defense was epically great the first month or so of the season, and the last month things kind of flipped around. Things have a way of balancing out. They're one of the worst teams in the league against their run. They've allowed like the 4th or 5th most points per game over the last month. And their offense isn't doing anything. It's ugly on both sides of the ball. The only reason I'm taking Cleveland is because if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, I think 3 is hideous. Cleveland's not that good, but this could be one of those like 12 to 10 game, 12 to 9 games or 10 to 6 games or something like that. It could be really gross. I'm going to go Cleveland.
I believe this is going to be a 12 to 9, 12 to 10 type of game, which makes me almost want to take the Jags because they're getting 3 points. But I think the defense here is the difference. So it's probably going to be cold as hell. It might be raining. It might be snowing. There's going to be a cold weather factor. And the history for the Jacksonville Jaguars is not good when it is a cold weather factor. But I think in the end here, the difference is Trevor Lawrence misses the game. The Browns defense can limit this team anyways. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Browns, but it wouldn't surprise me if this game goes either way. But Robert says for Steve to take the Browns.
The Browns are allowing about 142 rushing yards per game over the last 4 games, which would be the second worst mark in the NFL if they did that over the course of a full season, behind only Denver. Denver's on their own level. I think they're allowing like 160 rushing yards per game or something like that. It's really gross. But Cleveland's got to get that run defense situated, man, because their pass defense is elite. But if you can't stop the run, you're allowing 142, 143 yards rushing per game.
Yeah,
you're not going to win a lot of games, especially.
They also mess around and play Cleveland and Pittsburgh in them a lot too, which doesn't help your yards per carry given up. Riz, Browns, Jaguars. Browns favored by 3.
What is the first tiebreaker in a division? Is it division wins and losses, or is it head-to-head competition?
If it's a 2-team tie, it's head-to-head. If it's more than 2 teams, then it's division.
It's division.
Yeah.
All right, Colts could be tied for first place after this.
That is great, but I mean, unfortunately,
they would lose the tiebreaker.
Yeah, but we're picking the Jaguars and Browns. If you could stay on topic here,
let's go Jags.
I'm going Browns.
Wow, that's a great pick, Steve. Next, the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are favored by 5.5 in a game that promises to be horrible. Steve, what do you think? Looks like Jameis Winston.
It looks like the Saints are going to go with Jameis Winston with Derek Carr fighting concussion symptoms, and they what they call ineffective play. He's just not been effective with the team. There's talk. It's looking like they're going to start Jameis Winston. Panthers are just a mess. They're just. I
don't like this spread though. It's a big
I don't like
spread.
the 5.5 point spread either because I don't think either team offensively is that sound. But I have less faith in the Panthers winning or getting within 5 points than I do the Saints winning by 5 points. I'm going to take Saints.
All right. Robert says take the Saints. Like anybody cares, Robert, but I still.
Why do you keep announcing what Robert says?
I was just letting it know. I'm trying to, let Robert know that he is.
First off, you say like Robert says, then you said like anybody cares.
Dan, would you like to pick the
said
game
his
now?
pick on every game we picked so far.
Yeah, well, everybody has to listen. I let you fucking pick every game. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, this game is my stinker of the week.
And you made me say a bad word.
Even though the Saints have 5 wins and they are technically in the hunt for the division lead at this point, which is still gross to say out loud.
Oh, Carolina's probably still alive in that division.
We're looking at literally the second and third worst teams against the spread in the NFL. The Saints are 2-9-1 thus far against the spread. The Panthers are 2-8-2. The only team that's worse are the Patriots at 2-10 against the spread. I'm going to take Carolina in this game, mostly because I don't trust New Orleans. I don't trust Jameis Winston. And this could bite me in the ass with like Kamara going off for 150 total yards and 3 touchdowns or something crazy like that. But I don't like this 5.5. I'm going to take Carolina.
I'm going to take the Saints. I was kind of flipped up in the air about it, but Dan seems like he's drank an awful lot tonight. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to take the Panthers. I was actually hoping you would just take the Saints.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
5.5 points.
Thanks for that comment, because it makes me feel like you're just not picking on me.
Hey, shut up. My God, you're such a
dumbass comment against Dan, too.
All right, next up. I don't make dumbass comments. I talk to dumbasses all day, and I get frustrated after a while. The Texans have won 4 or 5 games. The Jets, I think, averaged less than 10 points since they lost their quarterback, which was seems like 5 years ago. Robert's taking the Saints, by the way, just so everybody knows. Houston at the Jets. I'm going to put in my parlay this week. I hit my parlay last week, made like $230 on a 3-team bet because there seemed to be 3 games that were really messed up the way I had these spreads. I'm going to take the Texans at -6. And Dan, I don't understand how this spread is only -6.
It's only -6 because the conditions in New York or in Jersey are supposed to be pretty gross. It's supposed to be rainy.
Yeah, but the conditions here are one team is really good with a really good quarterback, and the other team's really bad with a shitty quarterback.
And Zach Wilson's going to be starting this week. That was actually
shittier quarterback.
That was actually announced, I think, a couple of hours ago, right around when I was getting out of work.
Are they going to drag him to the game, put his uniform on him, and make him play? Because he's almost like one of those dads that wants his kid to be really good, and his kid's a first grader, and his kid weighs 13 pounds, and he's scared to death, but his dad makes him play football anyways. Because I heard Zach Wilson had been refusing the last 2 weeks to play.
I don't know if it was the last 2 weeks that he refused, but it definitely came out that they wanted him to start this week, and he was not on board. He was quote unquote not all in. And on one hand, that's really unprofessional.
On the other hand, he's going to get hurt at some point behind that line.
I would say, on the other hand, he might have a bit of a point. They're jerking him around. They obviously don't think much of him. They obviously have no place for him on the roster moving forward. And he's getting beat up behind him, subpar, one of the worst offensive lines in the league. They can't run the ball. I mean, there's a collection of issues. There's nothing outside of Garrett Wilson. It's all bad. Everything about the situation is bad. But they're going back to him, and for better or for worse, I don't know how this line isn't bigger either, but I'm taking Houston. All
right. Robert takes Houston, but the spread scares him, Steve. What do you think?
Now you're giving Robert billing over me. You're announcing his.
I would announce both of you, or his over both of you guys.
Next week, I tell you what, why don't you just have frickin' Robert come on?
We can't, because Robert is so hideously ugly, he won't come on the show. It's got to be what it is, because we've invited him for the last 2 years.
I'll just get off and take a week's vacation.
Don't you every week?
Robert on. How's that, Mike? I've been with you over almost 8 years.
Are you going to pick this game, or are you just going to whine and bitch? Because I acknowledge somebody that every week takes an hour or more out of their time to watch us on shows.
What the hell do you think?
You don't appreciate that. You don't say anything about it.
Show I've done with you today.
It's what?
My second show I've done with you today.
Yeah. So, what's your point? I keep you relevant. Go ahead. Pick the game.
I'll take Texans.
Okay.
Houston.
Robert said nah, so I guess he's still not coming on the show.
Boo, Robert. Boo.
All right, next up, the Los Angeles Rams. I should say the resurgent Los Angeles Rams at Baltimore. All right, to me, this is very interesting because Lamar Jackson has not looked good since Mark Andrews has went down. And really, he hadn't looked near as good as the first 5 weeks ever since week 6 or so. So I think the spread makes this game hard to pick. Steve, what do you think? Rams at Ravens.
Yeah, I think the spread makes it real hard to pick. Stafford's playing very good football right now.
To me, it's Kyron Williams. His ability to run the ball, I think, is why Stafford's throwing
Getting
the ball
him back was a big. You got Cooper Kupp healthy again. You got the other guy. What's that?
Buka.
The Rams offense is clicking. The question is, can their defense stop the Ravens should Lamar Jackson get hot?
Well, the thing is this, though, Steve. The Ravens, for their defense or offense to get hot, need to run the ball. And I think I saw a stat earlier today where the Rams, for like the last month, have only given up like 70 or 80 yards per game rushing.
Yeah. The other thing is they're playing at Baltimore. Rams are used to playing at SoFi in a stadium in perfect weather every Sunday. They're going to what's going to be a Soup Bowl, apparently, in the whole East Coast. Is going to be just a wintry mess. So with that being said, I'm going to take your 3-point rule, Mike, and I'm going to take the Ravens in this one. I think the Rams are playing well. I think it's going to be a close game. I think this game, the spread will decide how we end up on this game, I believe. But I'm going to take the Ravens.
All right, Danny boy, what you think?
I'm gonna take Baltimore in this one. The Rams are a sneaky team when they're healthy. Stafford, Kupp, Puka.
Yeah, but is Puka healthy?
Yes.
I think he's playing.
Yeah, I know he got dinged
no
up.
problem. There's no problem with Puka.
I mean, when Stafford's on, they're on. Kyron's on, they're on. Like, this could be a real sneaky game. But I think the main difference is going to be Baltimore's defense. They have one of the best defenses in the league. It's been getting better every week. And, yeah, they've had a couple of minor glitches like the Cleveland game a few weeks ago. But other than that, the last 4 weeks, they've allowed 3 points, 20 points, and 10 points in victories. I'll chalk up that Browns loss to a fluky NFL game. Things happen on Sundays.
You know, Dan and Mike, one thing to consider here, too, I just was thinking after I made my pick is the weather is going to probably take away the long ball for both these teams. And Cooper Kupp is about as good as there is on the short yardage situations, short passing plays, and getting you yardage and moving the ball. Running game's going to come into play here. So, like Mike, you said, you know, Baltimore's running game pretty much is Lamar Jackson. And with the running back for the Rams back, it's my favor. It might be more of a favor to Rams than I think it was initially.
All right, I'm going to go with the Rams. I think 7 points is way too much to give in this game. And the Ravens, we saw them blow a couple teams out but remember, this is a Ravens team that's lost at home. They lost to the Colts at home, 21-18 in a game where the Colts ran the ball successfully against them. And the Rams have been shutting the run down. So I think a bad weather game could favor the Rams because I think the Rams have the better wide receivers. And in bad weather, you know where you're going. The defender doesn't. I think Steve is right. I think Steve nailed it with the short passing game of Cooper Kupp and Nakua. I mean, that is something that's almost like an extension of your run game. You got Matt Stafford. I mean, really, who's the better quarterback in bad weather, Matt Stafford or Lamar Jackson? Who's the better quarterback in regular weather is Matt Stafford.
I'm going to change my pick. No, I think the logic that Mike's spitting out is true. I think the short passing game and I'm going to change my pick to the Rams, Dan. We haven't finished this game yet, so
you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
As long as Dan doesn't try to change his pick, then I'm going to have a complaint.
Because I got a 7-point cushion there. That 7-point cushion, even if the Rams lose by 4.
Well, if they lose by 6, Steve, you'll be fine.
I'm going to take the Rams.
Because I don't necessarily think the Rams are going to win, but it would not surprise me because I think this Rams team is dangerous. I mean, you've got Matt Stafford, who's a guy that I think is a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback against Lamar Jackson. And the other thing is this, Lamar's bound to get hurt sometime in the next 2 weeks. All right, next up. And I'm not saying that to be mean.
I got to say it. Robert Stewart said take the Ravens.
Who gives a shit what Robert Stewart thinks?
I agree with you 110%.
Thank you for your comment, Robert. We appreciate it. Even though
Robert.
Steve acts like he doesn't. All right, next up, the Minnesota Vikings at the Las Vegas Raiders. The Vikings are favored by 3, Steve.
Yeah, I got to go Vikings in this one.
It's Josh Dobbs against Aiden O'Connell.
Oh, that reminds me.
Aiden O'Connell's not played badly.
No, and Josh Dobbs has not played well.
No, but the Vikings, I think, are a better football team.
Do you want me to make my pick first, Steve, so you'll know what to do?
No, I don't. I'm going to take the Vikings and give up 2.5 points.
All right, Dan, it sounds like you have something to tell us.
I'm gonna go with the Raiders in this game, and Dobbs is gonna be starting. But after his first 2 games where the Vikings won against the
Who's
Falcons,
his backup right now?
Nick Mullins is the number 2.
That was the used to be with the Niners?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jaron Hall is also available coming back from injury.
God, he's terrible. He's a Mormon.
So I'm going to take Vegas in this one, mostly because I think this is going to be another ugly game. Dobbs is probably going to turn the ball over a couple of times. I mean, he is what he is. He's a backup quarterback.
He's very ugly, too. His head's kind of misshapen. He needs some hair.
Who can come in and maybe win a game or 2, but he's nothing special. And after that 2-game winning streak, he's turned the ball over 6 times, including 5 picks, I think, or something like that. It's just sloppy football. Minnesota might win, but I'm taking Vegas on this -3.
I started with Steve.
Is it -3 or -2.5?
3 is what it was at the start. I mean, it's up there. Unless I got it on the wrong team, just go with it.
No. I'm just going by the Sporting News Report, which came out yesterday.
2.5 or 3.
It's currently -3 pretty much across the board.
Well, then that's what we're going with then. So,
yeah.
Okay.
No, that's what we're going with because that's what I said, Steve.
That's what we're doing.
I'm going to go with the Raiders also, just because I believe Aiden O'Connell is better than Josh Dobbs. And they've got, I mean, I don't know, though, because the Vikings are still playing for a playoff spot. They're right in the middle of it. They've got the better coach.
They won 5 games in a row.
They've got Josh Dobbs, dude. I'm picking the Raiders. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, I'm not buying the Vikings as a playoff team at this point, especially with the Packers coming on.
Next up, Dan.
Mike, I got a question. Do your players on your high school team like you at all?
Everybody loves me everywhere.
That's right.
That means
this is the thing, though. This is the thing. I'm not an asshole if you're a decent person and respect everybody. But when I see the kind of crap you guys do, it just makes me sick.
I'm an angel.
Yeah, whatever. You're Charlie's angel. That was your old 3rd grade teacher, and he loved you. Seattle at San Francisco. San Francisco by 10.5. I should go first here because I'm counting it, and I went first just 3 times, and Dan went 4. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to take Seattle in the 10.5 points. I think the Niners will win the game, but I think the Niners have been red hot. They're coming off a huge win, set for a downfall. Remember, this is an NFC West battle. Usually when the Seahawks 49ers play, no matter who the better team is, the game is closer than what a lot of people think it'll be. I think the 10.5 is too much here, Steve. I'm going to take the Seahawks in the points.
I'm going to take the 49ers. They're gearing up for a Super Bowl run now. They're not going to screw up much the rest of the season.
Well, I don't think they'll screw up much either. But this game, they're going to – I'm not saying they're going to screw this game up. I just think Seattle will keep the game close.
But I think they're a dominant team along with the Cowboys in terms of point production in the NFC. So, yeah.
Hey, wait, until we know what Robert says, does it really matter? Robert said Seattle, so see, Robert's a genius on that one.
Okay. I'm taking the 49ers, Danny.
Yeah, I'm going to take San Francisco here as well.
Yes.
For me,
you disagreed with Steve. You realize that, right?
Yo,
Who's
Steve
down
wants
by
to
7
win.
games.
Steve wants to win, so I like it. But I'm going to take San Francisco here. They're on fire on both sides of the ball. The offense goes without saying, but it's their defense over the last month.
Hey, wait a second. The Niners don't have Tua, Robert said. I would much rather have Brock Purdy than Tua Tagovailoa. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry for the interruption, but that comment was so stupid that I had to interrupt it.
Well, Mike, it was a worthwhile interruption because I agree with you 100%.
And I love Tua. I think Tua's a stud. I think he's a top 10 quarterback, but he's not Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
So
because Joe Burrow's hurt, but go ahead.
Let me finish my thing with the defense. This 49ers defense is allowing 265 yards per game in the last 4 games. And they're playing Tampa Bay and dominated Jacksonville, but they dominated Philly 42-19. And They just made a stake for that they're the best team in the NFL. And
how many times have you said that about a different team this season?
With Brock Purdy, it's been a crazy year. With Brock Purdy, I went to look at his stats. I did a deep dive because I wanted to see because I thought coming into the season that he was a glorified Jimmy Garoppolo 2.0.
I know. I remember us having that argument because I said he's nowhere near as bad as Jimmy Garoppolo, and then Steve said, "But Jimmy Garoppolo is a top 10 quarterback." No, that was last year.
I thought he was a glorified Jimmy G. I thought he was a dump-off specialist. Don't turn the ball over. Just play within the scopes of the offense. Not going to make any big plays. And then I did the deep dive. And they don't throw as much as other teams, but they don't have to.
Wait, look at this comment. Look at this comment.
This kid is elite in every possible way.
Look at the comment, Dan, from Robert.
What is he saying? Tua?
He said Tua doesn't hurt defense. Does that mean that you think Brock Purdy hurts the 49ers? Because this is the thing. Brock Purdy just decimated Philadelphia 42-19. And has Tua beaten somebody with a winning record this year?
Look, as far as this Tua versus Purdy goes, I'm gonna just put it like this. Purdy is elite in every aspect of every stat. Advanced analytics, basic ass stats, watching the game. Like, he's elite, period, done. He's one of the best deep ball throwers, one of the best short to intermediate passers. His yards per completion is through the roof. I mean, if these guys are healthy, I don't know how the NFC stands a chance against the 49ers. I'm going to take San Fran.
I do think there are teams that stand a chance with that a little bit. All right, next up, the Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills season comes down to this game. They're at Kansas City. They're 2.5-point underdogs, Steve. Will the Chiefs get it done? Because the Chiefs have lost, back-to-back games right now? And the Chiefs are struggling.
Is Taylor going to be at the game?
Yeah, Taylor's going to be
there. Last game.
To see his one loss.
Hey, Taylor just was named Times Person of the Year.
That'll tell you how messed up this country is. That Taylor Swift, who sings songs, is the Woman of the Year. Go ahead.
No, she's the
Person of the Year.
Of the year.
Oh yeah, you're not allowed to be the Woman of the Year anymore.
Well, no, because she was going up against it was men and women, and besides
she was going against Putin and Xi.
Yeah, Putin, Winnie the Pooh in China. A whole bunch of random.
I like Putin better than Taylor Swift.
It was crazy. I was seeing jokes online because it was like Putin, the Trump prosecutors,
the protesting Palestinians at college.
Yeah, I was like, oh, why isn't Hamas on this list?
So basically, what you're telling me, this was set up for her to win.
That's exactly what it was. Let's
you're going to get all kinds of crap because Beyonce wasn't on the list.
Well, that's because we're all racist.
She hasn't done anything in the last year. But anyway, where were we?
Buffalo at Kansas City.
Barbie was on the list.
Barbie, that's right. Yes.
Buffalo at Kansas City. Kansas City minus 2.5. Kids, focus. Look in my eyes. Focus.
I'll go quickly. I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Dan?
I think the Bills are done.
Dan?
I'm going to take Kansas City in this game, but I don't think Buffalo's done.
They're done if they lose this game.
I know.
How many teams they got to get by? How many teams they got to pass?
Nah, they got a gauntlet, man.
What are 6-6? The key is they've got to go. You got to get to 10-7 to have a good shot to make the playoffs.
I'm going to take Kansas City in this one, but I'm not sticking a fork in Buffalo yet. And it wouldn't surprise me if they win this game. Josh Allen has played better after the offensive coordinator change, for what it's worth. So keep an eye on that. And on the flip side, Mahomes and the offense is struggling. It's not Mahomes' fault. It's his wide receiver core that leads the league in drops and just routinely sucks week in and week out.
That team's got butter hands, don't
Robert says Chiefs only favored by 2.5 at home with Mahomes at quarterback. Well, I mean, do you watch football, Robert? I mean, come on. The Chiefs have lost, 2 games already this season at home, and this will be the third. I will take the 2.5 points in the Buffalo Bills. I don't think there's any doubt who the better team is here. Dan, how about that? I think the Chiefs. You're talking about the Bills being done. I think the Chiefs are near done. They do not have the skill position players to get this done. And their defense was great for the first half of the season. But it seems to me things have been figured out there, and that defense has not been that good because the other thing is this. What made that defense so good at the first half of the season was what, Dan? It's because they caused turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about turnovers is that doesn't last. It might last for a whole year, but how many teams have we seen that play an entire year and get like 45 turnovers? And they go 13-3, and everybody's, how did they do that? And then the next year, they don't get those turnovers. And then the next year, they're back to what they were, which is 8-9. So I'm going to take the Bills. Robert agrees with me, which makes me uncomfortable. But I'm going to take the Bills. I think the Bills are going to win. I think Josh Allen is the better quarterback in this game, and he's a better quarterback because he's got better wide receivers, if that makes any sense.
All right.
And next up,
moving on.
Did everybody pick?
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, the Denver Broncos at the LA Chargers. Chargers are favored by 2.5, Dan.
2.5. I don't like that. You know what? I'm going to take Chargers.
Oh, that's a good pick.
I'm going to take the Chargers in this one because whenever I pick Denver, they lose. And
so that's good because now I'll pick Denver and they'll win. You're a dumbass. Think about what you say before you say it. All right, Steve, what do you think?
I'm going to take Chargers.
You're going to take the Chargers. Let's see what Robert thinks before I pick because I don't want to disagree with Robert. He just said the spread. I don't think it's an UG. This is one of the games on my parlay because Denver will win this game. They'll win it easily because what you guys are missing here is this. The Chargers have quit on their coach, and the owner will not fire that coach. So the players are going to force him to fire him. It's going to be kind of like the Raiders, maybe, something like that.
Okay.
So I think that the Broncos win this game easily. Remember, the Broncos, in the last 6 weeks, the only game they lost was to C.J. Stroud, and they were driving to win it at the end at Houston. I think people forget that, but I think a lot of people don't take them seriously because of what's happened the last 3 or 4 years. All right, next up, the Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. We've got the second and possibly third or fourth best teams in the NFC playing each other. To me, the Dallas Cowboys, I'll tell you this right now, I don't know if there's anybody playing better than Dak Prescott, Dan. I'm going to go with the Cowboys and give the 3.5 points. What do you think?
I'm going to begrudgingly also take Dallas, but I'm putting an asterisk on that because they're another team, just like Miami. They don't like beating good teams. They don't like showing up against good teams. And that gives me pause here because Philadelphia is a damn good team.
Really? Are they? Do you really think they're a damn good team? They're not. They're not. There is. I don't know that there's a damn good team in the NFL this year, Dan.
Well, they're not a sure thing. And they are one of the best teams in the NFC, but they are a really good team. They have a ton of talent.
But they got no quarterback.
They got to get it together. We've said this about
Jalen Hurts ain't
Eagles.
going to get it, dude. Jalen Hurts ain't.
We've said this about the Eagles all season long, and it looked like maybe they were getting it together a few weeks ago, but the last few weeks has just been awful.
You know why, Dan? You know why? Their coach plays not to lose. They're not aggressive offensively, not the way they should be. And Jalen Hurts is not that good. You know, I read these power rankings on quarterbacks. Mine will be out tomorrow on The Grueling Truth. Check it out. But most people have Jalen Hurts like the number 2 quarterback in the NFL right now. And what's his stats? Like 18 touchdowns, 10 picks?
Something like that. I don't know.
It's a very good team. And that very good team carries Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not as good as Dak Prescott. I don't care what anybody says.
He hasn't been playing like that this season.
He never has. And he had one good year. And Robert said Miami is the best team in the AFC. Just be quiet, Robert. It's just because Joe Burrow got hurt that you can even make a dumbass claim like that. Go ahead, Dan.
Pretty much. Burrow, the Bengals were on the fast track to being the top team in the AFC.
Yeah.
Until Burrow got hurt. That was a shoo-in. I would have picked them every week if Burrow was healthy. But anyway, no, the thing with the Eagles, their pass defense is atrocious. Their secondary is getting torched constantly. Bradbury is done.
So you agree with me? They're not that damn good.
They're good. They just got to sort their shit out.
They're in a mediocre league and they're slightly above average. How about
and
that?
they're dealing with Hurts issues. Hurts isn't playing quite right the last few weeks. They're not running the ball well. DeAndre Swift, surprise, is nicked up. So that's all attributing to it. But the biggest thing is the pass defense. They got to get that fixed. They got injuries at linebacker that's killing them in the middle of the field. That's why they brought in Shaq Leonard to hope he could rekindle some of his all-pro form from a few years ago. But that's a shot in the dark, I think, at this point for a guy like him. But that secondary is shot, and this is a bad game to be coming into it with your secondary being ass. I want to take Dallas very reluctantly because they like to lose games like this, but I think this is set up nicely for them.
All right, Steve.
I'll take Dallas.
Hey, Steve, our Bengals-Cowboys Super Bowl is still possible, too.
Yeah. Well, not yet. I mean,
numerically, yeah.
Well, it's still possible.
In the playoffs.
Well, nobody's made the playoffs yet, Steve.
No, they're not, but they've got a few teams to pass.
But they're going to beat them all, so it doesn't matter. They'll take the Colts down this week anyways. That'll be an easy one.
Let's go, Cincy.
Robert said he's hurt not playing. What's he happen? We need to pay more attention to this so we get it when he actually says it. All right, next up, Tennessee. Whose idea was it to have Tennessee, Miami, and the Packers and Giants play on Monday Night Football at the same time? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, other than the fact that nobody would want to watch either team. Miami's favored by 13. They'll cover that 13. Dan, what do you think?
Why don't they have like a Saturday night game and a Monday night game?
Well, how about this? You could do a Saturday, start the one game at 6 and the other at 9 would work too.
Yeah, but I can't believe 2 games on Sunday night or Monday night.
I think what they're figuring is only Packers, Giants, Titans, and Dolphin fans are going to watch this shit anyways. So it's not really going to matter. I mean, what everybody will do is they'll start off watching the Titans, Dolphins, and after they watch Tua drop 42 on the Titans in the first half, they'll flip over to watch the Packers smack the Giants 13-0.
I mean, I just think for advertising purposes alone, selling advertising time, you'd be better off separating those games out. Like I said, playing one on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening.
Hey, real quick, Steve, before you make your pick, Robert took Miami.
Okay.
Dan, pick the game. You like this point? You like the points here in the Titans, right?
I love the Miami Dolphins in this game. This line should have been higher. I would have taken Miami up to like 19 points. Let's do it.
Yeah, because the Dolphins are awesome against horrible teams. Steve?
I'm taking Miami.
And remember this, Dan's got a friend who's a Titans fan. And he talks bad about them all the time. Next up, Green Bay Packers at the New York Giants.
Who did you take, Mike?
I already picked the game. I picked it right away. I said Dolphins.
First one.
Packers at
here.
Huh?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Well, it's all right, Steve. When you get older, sometimes you tune out. Packers at the Giants. The Packers
tuned you out.
The Packers are favored. I can't even hear you now. Packers are favored by 6.5 against the Giants. I'll start this off. I'll take the Packers. Steve?
Packers.
Now, I do think a case can be made for the Giants at minus 6.5. But, I mean, really, when you look at the Packers, Dan, and the rest of their schedule, they could win out.
They could. And it wouldn't shock anybody. And the main driving force behind that at this point is Jordan Love.
I was wrong about that one, at least so far.
He started fast. Then he had 4 or 5 games in a row where he was just awful. Kept turning the ball over. Couldn't make those easy completions. Young quarterback problems. And then the last 5 games, I mean, the man sorted it out. I mean, he's beaten Kansas City. He's beaten Detroit. He's beaten, when it mattered, the Pittsburgh Steelers before these injuries hit and whatnot. He's beaten the Chargers, the Rams. He's played really well. He's got only 2 interceptions in his last 5 games, 11 touchdowns, and a 106 QB rating. He's coming on, and that's dangerous. I'm gonna take Green Bay.
You're going to take Green Bay also? All right. So, what are you guys laughing at? I don't know what the hell you guys are laughing at. Let's see what Robert.
I'm getting somebody sending me personal messages that I'm not going to repeat on the air.
Robert took the pack. Rinse what in the sink, Dan?
Oh, okay. We're both getting it. Never mind.
All right. Do we have anything else we want to touch on before we wrap it up?
I was going to say something about the Maryland Terrapins, but I don't want to talk about turtle heads or anything like that at the moment. Let's just call it a day.
What do you want to say about the Maryland Terrapins?
I was going to talk about turtles and turtle heads for a minute, but let's wrap it up.
Okay. I'm about done anyway. All right, guys. This is what we're going to do. We're going to come back here, same bat time, same bat place next week. What? What are you talking about, Steve? All right, guys. Make sure you follow us at Grueling Truth on Twitter. Make sure you click the links in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. To go to BetMGM and bet the games this week. You can follow Dan at DB Talking Sports.
That's the one.
Oh, I nailed that on Twitter. Or you can follow Steve Risley at HasBeen34 on Twitter.
Nice.
Thank you, Robert, for the birthday wishes.
Whose birthday is it?
It's mine tomorrow.
It's mine in 2 weeks. That seems a little bit more important, don't you think, Dan?
I don't think either of them are important, but
I hope. So you don't like us now?
Like is a subjective term, but go on.
Dan, are we going to see your chart page thing sometime before the fourth game of the, halfway through red zone?
Yes, you are. I'm doing it right now.
You going to send it out right now?
Yeah.
You never do.
Sure.
You're lying to your damn teeth.
I got you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up. But for Dan
Is that
Kornhauser,
going public?
No. For Dan Kornhauser, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.